to my producer, and he asked the question, will Americans tire of the left's hysterias? I think that when you have hysteria that is national and mass, and it is, of course, repeated constantly, it has an impact.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at noon, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 1250. The Answer.
Nobody came to my workout. Yeah, I announced here on Friday that I would be holding a workout, and all 32 NFL teams were invited. Sat by the phone Saturday morning, didn't get one call. Colin Kaepernick didn't get a much better turnout on Saturday down in Georgia. I think he got 7 teams. It was supposed to be at the Falcons facility in Atlanta with no coverage, no cameras. That's what the NFL wanted. They just wanted scouts there, you know, like they do for every other workout of a player looking to get a job on a team. But Kaepernick changed the plan because he wanted cameras to shoot it, and he switched it to a high school field, which is an hour away. Of course, in Atlanta, that could be like a mile and a half, but it was an hour away. 7 teams, as I said, showed up and watched him throw. Some were impressed, some weren't. And his chances of signing with an NFL team are a little bit better than mine and yours. I'd say 0. But anyway, it turned out to be a publicity stunt. Maybe he figured he wasn't getting enough media attention lately. And, you know, if you go to a job interview, which is what this was supposed to be really, should you expect to get a job when you say this after the interview?
I've been ready for 3 years. I've been denied for 3 years. Our biggest thing with everything today was making sure we had transparency in what went on. We weren't getting that elsewhere, so we came out here. So we're waiting for the 32 owners, the 32 teams, Roger Goodell, all of them to stop running. Stop running from the truth, stop running from the people. We're out here, we're ready to play.
Yeah, they're going to keep running. You won't even be able to believe how much they're running away from you now. And Colin may have lost Jay-Z. Jay-Z was disappointed in the workout. I don't know if that was the way Kaepernick threw or, you know, what it was that Jay-Z didn't like. But he told TMZ, apparently TMZ got it from a source, I think, that he thought Kaepernick, quote, turned a legitimate workout into a publicity stunt. Now, if Kaepernick really wants to play in the NFL, he sure does have a funny way of showing it. If he really wanted to play, he should have shown up, shut up, and thrown the ball. And maybe, I would have done this would have been a nice touch, sing the national anthem when he was finished. All he did was let every team know what a circus he was going to bring to town if it signed him, and he apparently still thinks he's Muhammad Ali or Rosa Parks. And by the way, wearing a Kunta Kinte T-shirt probably wasn't a good idea if he was trying to dispel any fears that calm any fears that the NFL teams might have had about it being a circus. Anyway, he just let every team know that he was going to bring a circus to town. And he does still think he's Muhammad Ali or Rosa Parks. And he's more interested in being a martyr than he is being a quarterback. And Stephen A. Smith said that on ESPN over the weekend. Then he just would rather do that than be a quarterback. And you could make a good case, by the way, that he's better than any quarterback on the Steelers roster right now. But the Steelers didn't show up, I should say, at his workout either. Of course, they didn't show up at mine. So anyway, we'll switch gears here after the break. We're going to talk about the media's 2 standards, the Trump standard and the Biden standard. Stick around.
They blow into town with the wind, rain, and hail. And out-of-town storm chasers going door to door, often posing as a local company offering a quick fix to desperate homeowners. If you've had damage to your roof, windows, siding, or gutters and downspouts, you may be eligible to get them replaced or repaired free of charge. Just be careful who you call. Visit WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com for a free inspection from one of their highly trained appraisers. With over 50 years in home remodeling, Windows R Us is the area's premier exterior replacement company for roofs, siding, gutters and downspouts, doors, and of course windows. If damage isn't your issue and you just want something new, you'll love their no-pressure approach, no hidden fees, and one of the fastest turnaround times in the industry. A company who will never skip town when it comes to honoring their warranty. Visit WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. Mention STAG for an additional 10% off. Windows R Us, proud sponsor of the Jerk of the Week, heard every Friday on the John Steigerwald Show. WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. Confusing, tedious, worse than a math test. That's how most Americans describe shopping for health insurance. Yep, open enrollment is here again. You have until December 15th to choose something very expensive that you hope to never use. And if that makes you want to stick a red-hot poker in your eye, call Marley Financial. Marley has every plan available in the tri-state, but they also offer some of the most innovative solutions to tackle the high cost of health care. Heard of first dollar benefits, the most expensive part of a health plan? They're great if you visit the doctor a lot or take medications, but if you're healthy, why pay it? A catastrophic plan through Marley may be all you need. Or how about a high deductible plan you can pair with a supercharged HSA? Not all plans qualify, but Marley's do, offering double benefits to cut your out-of-pocket costs in half. Call Marley Financial today at 724-884-1496 for a custom-designed health plan with the coverage you need at a price that's right for you. 724-884-1496 or at marleyfg.com.
The day after Thanksgiving, feed your soul. Join Amen to Action as we come together for the third year to sing, pray, celebrate, and pack over 1 million meals of hope for the hungry. It's Friday, November 29th at the Convention Center. Doors open at 8 a.m. We think we'll break last year's record. We know it will be a lot of fun. To register for the event or make a donation, go to amentoaction.org.
You started your business with nothing but a great big idea. They told you it couldn't be done, but that just made you work harder to prove them wrong. Now look at you, ready to take on the world. Speed Pro Pittsburgh South gets where you're coming from. When they said they wanted to create great big graphics for great big ideas like yours in less time than anyone else, they were told it couldn't be done. Speed Pro Pittsburgh South just smiled and said, "Oh yeah? Watch us." When you need a large format printing partner who can provide high quality visual graphics in stunning detail, from trade show displays to outdoor signs, 3M brand vehicle wrap for your fleet, to window graphics, banners, and decals, Speed Pro Pittsburgh South can handle most jobs in 2 days or less, and can roll with last-minute change-ups without breaking a sweat. Who says it can't be done? For a free quote, visit speedpropghsouth.com.
Healthy pets, healthy people, focusing on a natural, holistic approach for human and animal wellness. Host Dr. Edmund Sokalski and his guests discuss various topics on health and wellness for us and our companion animals. Airs each Saturday, live from 9 to 10 in the morning on 12:50 a.m. The Answer, giving you the opportunity to call in with your questions. A healthy pet is a happy pet, and being healthy makes people happy. Tune in, listen, learn, be well.
This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250 and FM 92.5. The Answer.
Over the weekend, I asked somebody what he thought the media would be doing if the Democrat was president and a Republican former vice president were running for the Republican nomination, and there was a story about him similar to the one about Joe Biden and his son in Ukraine. Of course, he just rolled his eyes, which meant you even have to ask, which you don't. Then I came across a piece by Eric Felten at RealClearInvestigations.com. The headline is, Media's Biden standard of no evidence is a double standard. And Eric joins us now. Eric, thanks for being here.
John, how are you doing?
Good, good. So you say there is a Trump standard for the media and the Biden standard. What's the Trump standard? Let's start with that.
Well, the Trump standard is, however outlandish the accusation is, if you don't have evidence for the accusation, you say that it is as yet unverified, thus suggesting that it's really not just a matter of time before the evidence is there. We may not have it yet, but we're going to get it. So throughout the entire Mueller process that took several years, it was always, that the information in the Christopher Steele dossier that was part of that investigation, that that the information in the dossier was as yet unverified, and it always implies that the proof is just around the corner.
Okay, so that's the Trump standard. Then what would the Biden standard be?
The Biden standard, there's been a remarkable unanimity of language used by media, whether it's magazine, whether it's television, whether it's newspapers, to whenever talking about the Hunter Biden case where he was making tens of thousands of dollars a month for being on the board of Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company. There was always the caveat in the newspaper or magazine or TV reporting that would say there is there is no evidence to support the claim that there was any wrongdoing. And so sometimes there'd be a slight variation where you would get that the accusation had been made by President Trump without evidence, but it was either that the charges were without evidence or that there was no evidence, kind of language that shut the door on the inquiry, if you would.
And normally, wouldn't a story with all the ingredients in the Biden-Ukraine story thrill any reporter who's interested in good material? I mean, shouldn't that just be something that any journalist, especially an investigative reporter, would see that and say, boy, that's juicy, I got to dive in and see what's going on there, rather than dismiss it?
You would think so. I mean, the son of a vice president making hay in a business that is sort of governed by his father, and as Joe Biden had the job of sort of overseeing what was going on with U.S. policy toward Ukraine, we would at the very least be getting lectures about conflicts of interest and the mere appearance of conflicts of interests. And instead of getting the sort of this quick disclaimer that there's no evidence, nothing to see here, don't bother looking.
Well, there never is any evidence if you don't look for it. I mean, not never, but rarely is there evidence if you don't look for it in any story.
Right. And, it's perfectly reasonable to go about looking for it and to not say anything about whether you've got evidence or not evidence until you find whether there's evidence or not. On the one hand, you don't want people making accusations for which there is no evidence, but you want good reporters to be out there, as you suggest, looking for evidence, finding the facts, and then bringing them to the public instead of sort of slamming the door shut with a claim that there's no evidence.
But sometimes, sometimes no evidence is evidence. I mean, for them to say that there's no evidence that support the claim that Hunter Biden had done anything illegal or unethical, there actually is no evidence that he didn't. I mean,
yeah. Well, one of the things that's funny about the way the no evidence language gets used is at first that it was used that there was no evidence that Hunter Biden had done anything wrong whatsoever. And then the claims get more and more elaborate as they have to avoid facts that have inconveniently turned up, so that you'll get things like there's no evidence that the elder Biden acted in any way to benefit his son. So you get these elaborate things that narrow the claim down to a very small sliver of what's being denied, but the no evidence is still right up there in the front.
And so what would you say are examples of evidence in Biden's case that would easily get by any editor and into a story, and if it was maybe about somebody else?
Well, I mean, when you have the kind of testimony that Marie Yovanovitch, the U.S. ambassador, former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, admitted that in her confirmation hearing, the State Department was concerned enough about Hunter Biden's work in Ukraine that they prepared a question for her in the briefing book for her confirmation hearing and coached her on what to say. That in and of itself is solid evidence that you have something going on that is sort of troubling enough that the State Department saw it as a problem, and that is evidence.
Yeah, and so I'm just wondering, maybe you know, maybe you have an opinion on it anyway. This is so obvious that the difference in the way the Biden story is being treated and the way the Trump story is being treated. And there's really, to say that, well, Trump's the president and Biden's not is no excuse, because Biden was the vice president at the time and he wants to be president. So their stature is almost equal. So you can't dismiss one because the subject, the subject of the story just isn't that important. So are they aware of how obvious this is and they don't care? Would you have to go out of your way to not be interested in this story?
You'd have to go out of your way to not be interested in the story. And, I do think that that there is something sketchy about the way in which the same language is used by multiple publications in lockstep. And it's not just that they're all using the same Associated Press copy in their newspaper articles, but it's rather that it's as though people have gotten together and agreed that this is going to be the language we're going to use in denying that anything wrong has been done. And my guess is it's just a sort of informal kind of thing where people get the sense that if they step out of line on that, they'll come in for disparagement from their colleagues, and so they're not willing to, to go with a search for where the evidence may lead.
Well, there are lots of people working at lots of outlets, and not every person working at CNN, I think Project Veritas showed some of that, is not a dyed-in-the-wool liberal who hates Trump, although, I'd say it's up in the 90% that do. So how, it surprises me as someone who's been in the media all my life, it surprises me that they're able to keep a lid on it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is that that if it's so obvious to you and to me that there's a difference in the way these two stories are being treated, how do they keep a cap on it at these places?
Well, and my sense is that ultimately there won't be the ability to keep a cap on true stories that are carefully reported by people who are doing diligent work, and there are a lot of people doing diligent work. I would say that people who are running counter to the main media narrative, that they are held to a much higher standard. Any mistake they make is, ruinous, whereas a mistake, if you're at the New York Times, sort of people look the other way. But, that's not such a bad thing, which is for people who are cutting against the narrative, it forces them to have higher standards of proof of what counts as evidence, and to really do the job right. And that's, I think, not a bad thing when you're pursuing stories about, that can be ruinous to people's careers. Make sure you get the story right.
Yeah, we're talking to Eric Felten of RealClearInvestigations.com about the Trump standard and the Biden standard, and how it's a double standard in the media, which is the way they're being treated. So is there any major outlet, you mentioned New York Times, but is there any major outlet that has been more inconsistent on these two stories than anybody else?
I think the New York Times has set they're the winner. They're the winner. They not only use the language of there being no evidence with regard to the Hunter Biden case, but they use that language over and over and over and again. In October, there was a dozen stories they ran in which they used the no evidence line. So it just becomes like a function key on the computer keyboard, F1, Command F1, no evidence.
Right.
And as you had suggested, this should be the kind of thing that gets reporters eager to find what evidence there may be,
right.
and it may prove that there isn't evidence that is ultimately damning, but you would be more confident that in that finding, if there looked to be, reporters weren't so quick to declare there was no evidence and nothing to look at.
And actually, Eric, if someone would come out with a story with very good evidence that there was no evidence that he didn't do anything wrong, that would be a huge story. If you could do the story that puts that story to rest, that's a gigantic story, but that would require investigating.
Right. And, as to your point about there being other reporters who are willing to look at the story differently, I think that whenever there is bias in the media, that means that there is a story that's being ignored, and that's an opportunity for reporters who, may not have all the resources of the New York Times, but the New York Times, it's like the old joke about there being a $20 bill lying on the sidewalk, but you don't stoop to pick it up, because if there really were a $20 bill on the sidewalk, somebody would have picked it up already. The New York Times, if they're being biased in their coverage, that means their army of reporters are walking past the $20 bill on the sidewalk. And if there's somebody who's willing to look there, they're going to find things of value.
Yeah, and they don't seem to be embarrassed by any of it. That's what's scary. They for so long they've had this been up on this perch and been considered the standard of all journalism everywhere, and this just day after day there's evidence of just what you're talking about.
Yeah, we had the Pulitzer Prizes for the New York Times and the Washington Post for covering the Russia story that proved to be completely wrong. Right. And there didn't seem to be any rush to return the prize.
Yeah, so basically, what if things were being done right? Would these two stories, the Biden-Ukraine story and now the Trump-Ukraine story, would they be going down parallel tracks? Should there be equal amount of interest in both, and equal amount of skepticism in both?
I think that's really the core point, which is you need to, as a journalist, to have not just equal standards of what you're demanding from people, regardless of their party or partisan position, but the standards of proof need to be pretty high as well, so that we don't have a lot of throwing around accusations of people, committing treason when we don't have evidence for it.
Yeah, you would think if you're going to use a word like that, you might be a little bit more interested in, digging for some truth.
Yeah, and so it's really a question of how can we have higher standards of what it takes to prove things and an equal application of those standards, together with an eagerness to meet that standard by doing good, strong investigative work.
I got about 30 seconds left. Do you see do you have any hope that the major media outlets are going to get interested in the Biden story for real?
No.
that took me a lot less.
That doesn't use your 30 seconds.
Yeah, so no indication that things are going to change. Eric, I really appreciate you being on.
John, thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure.
We'll do it again sometime. Thank you very much.
At any time. Take care.
All right, that is Eric Felten of RealClearInvestigations.com, and we will be right back.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Violence in two parts of the country today. In Duncan, Oklahoma, Police Chief Danny Ford says 2 men and a woman were fatally shot Monday morning outside a Walmart store in southwestern Oklahoma.
There's 2 people inside the vehicle. one passenger, one under the steering wheel, and then one person on the driver's side towards the back door of the vehicle.
Police are calling it an isolated incident to Fresno, California, where 4 people were killed when unknown suspects sneaked into a backyard filled with people at a party on Sunday evening and fired into the crowd. 6 other people were wounded. On Wall Street, a good day as the Dow was up by 31 points to 28,036. The Nasdaq rose 9, the S&P advanced 1, and crude oil was down 67 cents to close at $57.05 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange. This is SRN News.
I couldn't sleep at night. All I could think about was my credit card debt.
I knew I couldn't get a loan, so the thought of owning a home or a new car seemed totally out of the question.
I was afraid to answer the phone, and I dreaded the mail.
It just felt like my credit card debt was this deep pool, and I was just drowning in it.
This might be you right now, and you should know you're not alone.
There is hope.
Right now, certified counselors at Trinity Debt Management are standing by and ready to help you, not judge you.
One call to 1-800-990-6976, and you'll find hope to live your life out from under the weight of credit card debt.
Trinity will consolidate your accounts into one easy-to-manage monthly payment.
Put a stop to late fees and over-limit charges, reduce your interest, and possibly improve your credit score. You'll save thousands.
If your debt has you down, we should talk. Call 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
Jay Sekulow explains the fiasco that is the impeachment hearings.
It's called due process, and there has not been much of that in this process. There's been none of it. In fact, today, a witness is going forward, but agency counsel is not allowed to be in that proceeding. I'm not allowed to be in that proceeding. The White House counsel is not allowed to be in that proceeding. The lack of due process here is breathtaking in scope. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The witnesses have already testified. You can't cross-examine them now?
Jay Sekulow live, weeknights at 6, right before Larry Alder at 7, on AM 1250. The Answer.
This is Jay Hagerman of Abernathy & Hagerman. Upon your passing, you wouldn't want a judge to decide who raises your children or how your estate gets divided. It is important to review your estate planning documents to ensure they protect what matters most. At Abernathy & Hagerman, we will work with you to establish an estate plan that nominates a guardian for your minor children and that your assets are used for your family's benefit. Judge for yourself. For legal help that lasts a lifetime, visit a-h.law.
Hey Pittsburgh, this is Tun Shilkin for my good friends at Calusi Chevrolet. All month long, the team at Calusi is having a Black Friday sales event. So right now, you could qualify for 0% APR financing for up to 72 months, plus a $750 down payment assistance on select 2020 Chevy Equinox LS. Inventory is limited, so hurry in now. Check them out at Calusi.com. Find new roads at Calusi Chevrolet.
The day after Thanksgiving, feed your soul. Join Amen to Action as we come together for the 3rd year to sing, pray, celebrate, and pack over 1 million meals of hope for the hungry. It's Friday, November 29th at the Convention Center. Doors open at 8 a.m. We think we'll break last year's record. We know it will be a lot of fun. To register for the event or make a donation, go to amentoaction.org.
Do you or your business have financial problems? Are you overwhelmed with debt? Then call me, attorney Dennis Spire, at 412-471-7675. My legal practice concentrates on bankruptcy law, debtor rights, and tax matters. I have over 30 years' experience as a former United States Department of Justice bankruptcy attorney and lawyer in private practice. I have represented thousands of cases faced with financial problems and lawsuits. Reorganize and get a fresh start. Call 412-471-7675 or visit my website at DennisSpira.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
We're looking pretty busy almost everywhere on the highways. Especially congested is the Parkway East. Outbound Boulevard of the Allies to Edgewood, Swissvale. Inbound pretty heavy from Edgewood Avenue down to the Squirrel Hill Tunnel. Parkway West slowing down outbound Green Tree Road to Carnegie. Inbound heavy Green Tree to the Fort Pitt Tunnel. Also seeing some slowing outbound over Liberty Bridge. Noblestown Road West End, we've got some construction there shutting it down near Main Street. That's a look at traffic. I'm Jenny Robinson.
AM 1250, The Answer. Weather.
This afternoon, we'll see intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high up to 49 and clouding up tonight of 32. Plenty of clouds, chilly tomorrow, perhaps a shower in spots in the afternoon, high 44. Wednesday could start with a shower, otherwise clouds will break for a little sun in the afternoon, high 45. Thursday, some sun, then increasing clouds and milder, chance of a late day shower, high 52. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Warning, listening to this program may expose you to toxic masculinity. The John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
No guest here the rest of the way. If you'd like to call, you can call me at 844-302-1250. We will put you on the radio, and you don't have to talk about what we were just talking about with the media. It'd be anything, I guess. We'll take a shot. Ask me anything kind of deal. But I have a couple of things here. First of all, if you work in the media, and especially if you do a talk show, and just if you work in the media, sometimes you run the risk of thinking that people walking around on the street care as much about this stuff as you do, or if not care about it, at least pay as much attention to it as you do. And the impeachment fiasco going on right now would be a good example. I don't know. I may have mentioned this on Friday at the end of the show, but I want to mention it again. There's a focus group called America First Policies. They held 18 focus groups over the past 2 months in Charlotte, Columbus, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Des Moines, Orlando, Phoenix, and Miami with independent voters. They self-identified as independent voters, and the voters did not know that they would be talking about politics. So the voters did not mention Ukraine, an alleged quid pro quo, Rudy Giuliani, or any other key details about the House Democrats' impeachment inquiry, according to videos of the focus group reviewed by the Daily Caller. I guess that's where this piece came from. Instead, the focus groups expressed concerns about the largely closed-door process and the fact that the inquiry is a distraction from the other issues that they care about. The more they try, the more they fail. It's a waste of funds, one person said. Several focus group members compared the current impeachment inquiry to the Russian collusion narrative, pointing out that there was no smoking gun in that one. And others said Democrats are not going about the inquiry the right way, quote unquote, asserting that the quote unquote sneaky process, quote, proves that they don't have anything. This is all not good news, I think, for the Democrats, and pretty good news for Donald Trump that these people aren't caring. And the fact that not a lot of people are paying attention is reflected in the TV ratings. Our friend, a friend of the show, she's been on, Joy Pullman of The Federalist. She's been on the show several times. Really good writer. She has a piece today that says Americans ignore Democrats' demands to watch their impeachment farce. So only 13, according to the story, only 13 million people tuned in for the first day of the televised impeachment hearings last Wednesday. That's many fewer than for the Brett Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford hearings last fall. They had 20 million a year ago. And for James Comey's Russiagate testimony, where they had 19 million, there are 304 million people in the United States of America that have television sets at home. That means 4.3% of them watched. 4%. I'm pretty sure that means that almost 96% of the people you see walking around on the street today, if you're driving home on one of the parkways right now, all those cars you see out there, for every 100 drivers that come by, about 4.5 have been watching the impeachment hearings. So, people just it's boring, and so it's that's more good news for Donald Trump, because if people were really all that fired up about getting rid of Donald Trump and wanting to see him get his comeuppance and get what he deserves, they would be glued to their television sets watching this stuff. Now, I know it's happening during the day, but that doesn't seem to be a problem for other things that are on television. As Joy points out, 20 million people watched the Kavanaugh hearings. But I guess there was sex, drugs, and rock and roll involved in that. Maybe that was a little bit more interesting. But let's go to the phones, and Dan in McCandless. Go ahead, you're on. What's up?
I just, a few months ago, read a book, Secret Empires, from Peter Schweizer,
Yep.
Schweiz.
I know of him,
Yeah, he did Clinton Cash, I believe. But in Secret Empires, it says how the American political class hides corruption and enriches family and friends. But it talks about Democrats and Republicans, but it goes into the whole thing about Biden and also when Obama was in, things that went on with his administration. But it's very informative.
Yeah, he did a really good book, I believe, on the Clinton Foundation, Clinton Cash. I think you mentioned that.
Right.
And the non-Fox media pretty much ignored it, as you would expect. He was a frequent guest on Fox. I don't know if he showed up on CNN or MSNBC all that often. But and the name of the book that you're referencing here?
Secret Empires.
Well, people should maybe get a look at that. Thanks, Dan.
But it's very good. It's very good. And I like your show. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I like the fact that you called. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. The number is 844-302-1250. More on this Americans ignoring it. What's funny here is that Joy Pullman has tweets from people who are scolding you if you're not watching the impeachment. Jim Baker, who's a CNN legal analyst, says, I'm sorry if some people, this is on Twitter, I'm sorry if some people think these hearings are boring. As American citizens, we have a solemn obligation to pay attention to this process no matter what side you're on. You're not being asked to storm the beaches at Normandy, after all. Suck it up and watch. Hey, Jim. No, okay? Because I'm doing a talk show and I can't watch it. Because it's not just because it's boring, because it's worthless. It's just useless. It's obviously the one side, in this case being the Democrats, cherry-picking witnesses and cherry-picking the witnesses, the questions that are allowed to be asked of the cherry-picked witnesses. And so it's not a fair process, and it's a waste of everybody's time. For that reason, but also because everybody knows no matter what not no matter what, but based on what we expect to come out of this and what we've seen so far, there's no chance on earth of the Senate convicting Donald Trump over what they're going to come up with in these kangaroo courts they're running in the House of Representatives. But there are other people here who are upset about the fact that people aren't watching. New York Times opinion writer Jennifer Weiner, she said, I'm sorry, is impeachment, that's the headline, I'm sorry, is impeachment not entertaining enough for you? Hey, Jennifer, that's the answer. Yes, it's not entertaining enough for me. It's just boring. So nobody wants to watch it. And you can blame some of that on the Democrats themselves for putting on a boring show and putting on a show that's enough of a scam and a sham that people see through it and they don't take it seriously. If they took it really seriously, more than 4.3% of the people in the country would be paying attention to it. 4.3%. And when you think about that, think about all the money and time and effort that is spent by all the networks to put that stuff on television, and 96% of the people are watching, I don't know, what else is on during the day? They're not soap operas anymore. What are they watching? Dr. Phil? Yeah. Judge Judy? Yeah. What? You could run a video, you could run a syndicated show and get, lots of sponsors and make lots of money. Think about the money and the time and the effort that's being put in by any one of the networks or all of them to get this on the air, and then the coverage of it and the breathless responses to each segment of testimony. When they take a break, they have 17 different reporters picking apart every word that was said by every witness and every question that was asked. And again, like if you had 70,000 people in a stadium watching a Steeler game, 2,800 of them would have watched the impeachment. The other 63,000 or whatever it is would have been watching, 67,000 would have been watching something else. That's what's winning in the ratings. Anything else but impeachment. And again, good news for Donald Trump, bad news for the Democrats, because this thing is going nowhere. And I'm going to a break. I'll be right back.
We're living in a very successful, affluent society for many people. Yet it's also true that there are people that are being left out of that. And how do we reach those people?
Joelle Gilliam, Executive Director at Light of Life Rescue Mission on Pittsburgh's North Side.
So part of what Light of Life does is that we help them in our education and employment program to connect with workforce development, to look at the skill gap that exists. And so we're partnering with places like the community college. We're taking our clients, once they are clean and they are ready to move on, now they can actually get credentialed in an area where they can be hired to work with UPMC or Google or Amazon or these other places. And so it provides an on-ramp for those who are left out to get back involved in society.
Help someone else find their comeback story. To become a monthly partner or make a one-time gift, visit lightoflife.org/give today. lightoflife.org/give.
When you're searching for a new mattress, you may be faced with a choice between a traditional inner spring or memory foam. But you don't have to choose. You can get the active support of a high-quality inner spring with the comfort of memory foam and the new hybrid mattresses from the Original Mattress Factory. With 2 hand-built hybrid models to choose from, you can expect the latest in sleep innovation at the same high quality and factory direct pricing you've come to expect from the Original Mattress Factory. Visit originalmattress.com to learn more.
If you're shopping for a mattress, you might find that you're paying a lot more for free. Mattress retailers use free delivery, free frames, and free box springs to close the deal. What they don't tell you is that the price of those freebies is already built into the price of the mattress. What if you don't need a frame or delivery? Too bad, you're paying for it anyway. At the Original Mattress Factory, we don't make you pay more for free. You'll only pay for what you need. That's the Original Mattress Factory difference. Visit originalmattress.com to learn more.
Like the rest of us, you're probably tired of all those annoying sales calls to your home telephone number. Now, there's a solution. OurOldNumber.com will block those pesky robocalls from getting through, and most live sales calls will hang up. So how does it work? Callers to your home telephone number will hear a personalized greeting from you. The caller selects the family member they wish to reach, and the call is immediately forwarded onto the family member's cell phone. There's no equipment to buy, there's nothing to install, no long-term contracts. It's still your phone number and remains in directory assistance. The service is only $9.99 per month, and you can eliminate your landline connection and save money. Now, calls to your home phone number can reach any member of the family wherever they are and get rid of those annoying sales calls. OurOldNumber.com. It's just $9.99 per month. Go to OurOldNumber.com to learn how you can get started blocking sales calls today. That's OurOldNumber.com. OurOldNumber.com. You'll be glad you did.
Hi, this is Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Not only do we have great grills, but also the best hot patio heaters. We are the nationwide distributor for Bromic Radiant Patio Heaters, the very best patio heater that you can get. The Bromic heaters use the same radiant burner technology as our Solaire infrared grills, so they heat up fast and keep you warm so you can enjoy your backyard grill and outdoor living spaces into the night and all year round. Bromic heaters have stylish contemporary designs that fit perfectly in backyard and restaurant patios. We have gas and electric models to suit most installation needs, and a portable gas heater that directs the heat where you want it, not the bushes and walls like the mushroom heaters. For top quality performance and aesthetics, you want Bromic Radiant Patio Heaters and Solaire Infrared Grills. Learn about these amazing grills and heaters at BestHotGrill.com. That's BestHotGrill.com, BestHotGrill.com.
The John Steigerwald Show, AM 1250, The Answer.
So I have a question, and I think you can still get a phone call in if you'd like at 844-302-1250. But I have a question, and you don't have to answer it. I'm just going to throw it out there because I don't know the answer to it. But I went to a movie yesterday. I went to see Ford versus Ferrari with Christian Bale and Matt Damon. And it's a good movie. And I used to do a wildly popular segment on a former radio show and on a podcast called Stag at the Movies. And if it weren't for having to do preparation for the show, I could actually still do it. But I don't see nearly as many movies as I used to. I used to go to at least one movie a week. I would see 70 movies a year probably. Now I go once a month maybe. So anyway, I went to see this movie, and something kind of jumped out at me, and I don't know if it's just me. that I'm paranoid about this. But, the previews were on, and I always like watching the previews, and I used to pay a lot more attention to them and remember them because I was planning on going to see them. Now I don't know if I'm going to see them. Anyway, I was watching yesterday at the theater. We're getting ready to watch this movie with Matt Damon and Christian Bale, and the previews are up there. And it's middle of November, so the Christmas movies are always a big deal. And the I think the biggest movies of the year come out on Christmas Day. The ones that are expected to be the biggest are the ones that get the most attention. And I can remember watching the previews, and when it was a Christmas movie, it would say "Coming Christmas." You'd see it starting maybe in August or September when they started promoting these movies. They'd say, you'd see the preview, and at the end it would say "Coming Christmas." And so I'm watching this, and I don't even remember which movie it was being previewed out of several previews that I saw. But at the end of the preview, it said coming December 25th. It'll be at theaters December 25th, and there was no mention of it being Christmas. And I just don't. Maybe I haven't noticed it, but I don't remember when you would see previews that it would say December 25th instead of Christmas, which of course I'm pretty sure December 25th is. And I'm wondering if if it's political correctness catching up, and somebody of the 8,000 people who might go to the theater on a given weekend, one or two of them might be offended because you refer to December 25th as Christmas when they don't care about Christmas. So I don't know if that's what's going on, but I'm going to pay attention the next time I go to a movie, and I will see if they're still doing that. And I'm trying to remember. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe they used to say December 25th, but I have a feeling that until recently, a Christmas movie was a Christmas movie, and they wanted to tell you that it was on Christmas because lots of people go to movies on Christmas, including me. I go to a movie just about every Christmas. I pick one of the big ones, and I go to it. And I go in the afternoon, and it's it's always crowded. I like going to movies actually at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's on a Wednesday. That's when I used to go because there's nobody there. But anyway, is that happening or is it just me? I don't know. But it annoyed me, and I don't know whether I should be annoyed, but I have a feeling I should be. But we'll see. Some big movies, I don't even know what big movies are coming out on Christmas, but it will be Christmas Day, December 25th. And I can remember seeing previews that would actually say, coming Christmas Day to a theater near you. And now it's December 25th. We've got a couple minutes left here, and I wanted to, I was talking to our producer, Aaron, earlier today, and I said, I could do a show just called Transgender Stupidity. And sometimes I hesitate to do this because I don't want to, it's not something I want to beat to death, but I think it's a big deal and unbelievably stupid. And I just wonder, I've said it to guests that we've had on here, I said, is this a train coming down the track that can't be stopped? Because it's everywhere. And some of the stupidity is just, you can't believe that this happens. So there's District 211 out in Illinois. That's the Palatine-Schaumburg High School District. And the board members there voted 5-2, that's an elected school board, I'm guessing, to lift the requirement that students use privacy stalls in locker rooms. And that's anybody can go in any locker room now. Board members Mark Kramer and Pete Dombrowski dissented. But it says here, while privacy stalls have been made available for all students in locker rooms at the district's 5 high schools, only transgender students have been required to use them. But when second semester classes begin after the holidays, no such rule will be in effect. And Vicki Wilson, she's a Palatine resident. She co-founded the group called Students and Parents for Privacy. Now think about that for a minute. Someone has to form a group and, have meetings and elect the president and everything to see to it that boys are not getting dressed in girls' locker rooms. When you turn all intimate spaces co-ed, that's egregious. This is what Vicki Wilson said. She said, among the ongoing problems the district is not addressing is that there aren't enough privacy stalls for every student to use each class period, which while teens who do or try to use them are ridiculed. Now, they're saying now that all locker rooms are open to anyone who identifies as whatever they want to identify as. So the attainment of transgender students' unrestricted access to locker rooms was the goal of the federal complaint in 2015 of a fremd high school student who had been required to use a private space outside the girls' locker room to change for gym class. So this is a guy who thinks he's a woman, has a mental disorder, and he wants to get dressed inside a locker room with nothing but teenage girls in there, and he wants to be naked in front of them, and he thinks it's a problem for him, not them, that he's not allowed to do it. And so one kid filed a lawsuit, and so every student in every high school all over America, I guess, once this gets to the Supreme Court, I don't know, is that what's going to happen at some point? I hope they keep the Supreme Court well loaded with conservatives, because if this stuff gets there, somebody's got to shoot it down. But that's where they are out there in Illinois. One kid filed a lawsuit, and now because another kid, a boy who, number one, decides that he thinks he should change in the girls' locker room in gym class. That's one thing. But they say, okay, that's a little bit of a problem. There's young girls, and you're going to be walking around. How about if you use a private stall? No, I can't do that. Come on, that's just unreasonable. You're making me feel bad. So because of one kid, and again, 0.05 of the percentage of the population, this is the kind of stupidity that is infiltrating and prevailing at high schools all over America. And it's not going to end soon. Pretty sure we're doomed. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
The John Steigerwald Show is a production of AM 1250 The Answer and Salem Media Group.
Are you willing to go through another season with cold and drafty windows or doors? Well,